Morning everyone, thanks very much for having me this morning. Thanks to Microlise for hosting us and Backhouse Jones for having us on the stand this morning. I've been asked to come along this morning to give you an overview in relation to UK cargo theft, the work that we're doing at the National Vehicle Crime Intelligence Service, NaVCIS, the organised crime groups, some of the challenges for both police and business. So in case you're wondering who the chap is with a funny accent, my background is predominantly in vehicle crime. So for 12 years I was stolen vehicle examiner at Cheshire Police, and for the last 6 years now I've been the officer that's been looking at national cargo theft. I work for the National Vehicle Crime Intelligence Service. We've got lots of different areas to our business. Freight and cargo theft is one of those areas. But we're unique in that, although we're a national police unit, we're entirely industry funded, so we don't receive any central government funding. We've currently got 73 trusted partners that are currently supporting the work that we're undertaking to tackle national lorry crime and cargo theft. But in the relation to the work that we undertook last year NaVCIS received just shy of 5,000 notifications of all types of UK lorry crime and cargo theft. The terms of reference for that is theft of and theft from any vehicle 7.5 tonnes and above. So that means that we're not currently cited on your 3.5 tonne parcel delivery thefts. We're not cited on clandestine entry. We're not cited on drug importation involving lorries. So it's all big lorries and bulk thefts. I don't always get an easy ride, particularly from haulage companies and drivers, but there is an awful lot of good work that's going on nationally. So last year we supported 48 policing operations in the UK just around lorry crime and cargo theft. We was either notified, asked to assist with 324 arrests. So that gives an overview in relation to the work that we did last year. So I mentioned that our terms of reference are thefts of cargo, big lorries, bulk thefts. So on your screen now, I'll not go through them all, but some of the examples on your screen are some of the incidents that we'll get notified of. In relation to the figures, we started this piece of work to look at the foundational work around lorry crime and cargo theft back in 2018. It's a mammoth task because there's currently no Home Office crime classification code or Home Office counting code for a lorry crime or a cargo theft. So looking at the figures on your screen, you can see that in 2017, NaVCIS received 1,530 notifications of all types of lorry crime and cargo theft. You can see that the figures are going up year on year, but that's not because there's been an increase in offences. It's just that we've increased our data collection in order for us to more accurately map and assess the threat from UK cargo theft. Last year, we've just put out our national annual report. That went out 2 weeks ago. We reported that last year we was notified of 4,879 notifications of all types of lorry crime and cargo theft. That came to an estimated combined cost price loss value of £111.5 million, and that's estimated cost price loss value. We've done some work with one of our insurance trusted partners, and they've concluded that if it is £111 million cost price loss value, that the true value probably would look more like 7 times that figure. And it's probably costing in the region of about 700 million a year just from UK cargo theft. They're all estimates, but the estimates that they come up with that figure are around the hidden harm and hidden costs. So some of that hidden harm, hidden cost would be around insurers' costs, policing and criminal justice costs, brand damage, business reputational damage, retail values, associated costs to haulage companies, damage to trucks and trailers, is that it could be costing as much as 700 million a year from cargo theft. So this next slide is the journey from data to wisdom. If you don't listen to anything that I'm going to say this morning, please listen to this one bit that I'm going to go through on this slide. What it's saying is, we are the unit in the UK that's able to join the dots up when it comes to those complex cross-border investigations from UK cargo theft. There's a number of organised crime groups in the UK that are deliberately targeting road freight. They will travel 3, 4, 5 hours from different places in the UK to commit curtain slashings, bolt croppings of trailer doors to remove cargo, trailer hookup thefts, load frauds, so round the corner thefts, bogus collections, fictitious collections. They're based in different areas in the country. As I said, we supported 48 operations last year. Some of the other threats that we see, a series in the last few years of something called jump-up thefts. So jump-up theft involves, usually around this time of day, with midweek mornings, those responsible will follow lorries doing supermarket deliveries, deliveries to cash and carries. When those lorries get held up in traffic, when they arrive at the supermarket, they'll run up to the stationary lorry, angle grind, drill the locks on the doors and jump in. They have been predominantly for cigarettes and tobacco. We've seen a large drop-off in those offences in the last year or so, but at the height of those incidents, we was receiving more than 500 incidents a year of jump-up theft. Something that's been in the press, I spoke to the press before Christmas, was in relation to a current series that we're looking at involving something called a rollover theft. If you don't know what a rollover theft is, if you put it into Google or YouTube, I can only describe it as being like something out of a James Bond movie or a circus act. The Italian police call it an acrobat theft. It's theft from a moving lorry at 56 miles an hour. We was notified of 16 offences in relation to those incidents last year, and we're currently speaking to our policing colleagues in Europe in relation to that. What I say when I'm giving these presentations around lorry crime is that the people that are committing the offences understand supply chains, so they know which hauliers and which carriers have got contracts to move certain goods around the UK. So it's my belief that they've mapped the UK like a sweet shop, and they're travelling to certain routes and certain locations and motorway service stations to deliberately target certain commodities. Now, I've only been involved with cargo theft for 6 years, and I could probably go to Cawley Services now, have a look at the livery on the lorries, have a look at what trailers are being pulled, and probably have a good guess at what's on those lorries. So if I know that, these criminal groups that are committing these offences definitely know that. I've asked our analysts to keep an eye on theft of commodity by region and theft of commodity by season, because I see the thefts that are reported. So theft of commodity by region, we see from time to time along the M6 motorway, Churnup, Richard, Keele, Stafford, Hilton Park, lorries being entered overnight, and they'll steal pallets of gin, whiskey, vodka. Now, could that not be because the Scottish whisky distilleries are running boxes of alcohol down the country from Scotland? So the natural stop-off areas for those trucks are those motorway service stations. Electrical goods we see stolen from time to time along the M1 corridor. Could that not be because of the big tech companies that have built big distribution centres in Leicestershire and Northamptonshire? And then lastly, we see car tyres from time to time being stolen along the A14. So again, car tyres coming into Felixstowe, then driven in boxes up the A14. So we'll see lorries being entered from time to time and car tyres stolen. We did a piece of work on an operation a couple of years ago, and something that we got told was that the villains know that lorries are loaded up in Europe on the weekend. They're brought into the UK on Mondays and Tuesdays. So anything that's got a foreign registered number plate on it that's parked at the services on Monday or Tuesday nights tends to be full of theft attractive goods that have been brought in from Europe at the weekend. So make no bones about this, I was probably naive when I took this job. I'd been doing serious and organised crime for a long time, but I wasn't prepared for how organised these groups are. They understand police tactics, they understand surveillance. What I say is make no bones about it, this is serious and organised crime. So on your screen at present, you can see a picture of a theft that occurred in August 2022 at Annandale Water Services in Scotland. We had some concerns over this particular theft because the lorry that's going to be targeted is a long 40-footer and it's got its lights on. And we were saying, well, if the driver's asleep in the cab, why are the lights on the lorry? The explanation we got given was that the driver had nipped into the services to use the toilet. So whether the driver knew something was imminent and decided to get out of the way, that's open for investigation. What is clear is this shows and demonstrates a textbook side-by-side theft, which is difficult for CCTV, law enforcement, security and police to detect. So you can see the little white cab coming into view. That's on false plates. It's travelled up to Scotland during the night. And you can see it's got to pull up on the offside of the lorry. If you have a look at, as it's pulling alongside, if you have a look at the curtain at the bottom, you can see that the curtain's unclipped, it's unbuckled. All the people that are going to commit the theft will be in the back of that curtain-sided lorry with the curtain unbuckled. So as they're pulling in now, they can pull their own curtain back, cut the curtain on the long 40-footer, and you can see the picture there. They're doing the business there. They're nicking 6, 7, 8 pallets. They'll only be there for 4 or 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then they'll pull the curtain back and drive out undetected. So that's one of the challenges that we're seeing. We've got we got asked by the BBC to provide a piece that Rhys Hackling from Direct Connect Logistics, who's with me today, to put together. We think it perfectly demonstrates the current picture of cargo theft in the UK. And if the technology works, I'm just going to run it now. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I'm Sally Taylor. Lorry drivers are calling for more secure truck stops to prevent organised crime gangs from stealing their cargo. The Road Haulage Association has urged the new government to create a specific freight crime offence and a security standard for lorry parking sites. More than £1 million worth of goods were stolen from a parked lorry at Banbury in Oxfordshire this year. The government says it's working with the industry to help tackle freight crime. Clodagh Stenson has a story.
Motorway service stations, truck stops, organised teams of thieves will enter those.
People are turning up armed, normally about 8 people in a gang.
They may cut a curtain on a lorry, bolt crop some trailer doors.
10 or 15 lorries in a night. Then eventually they will find one with goods in.
Then remove and steal those cargoes. This is serious and organised crime.
Every day, drivers across the UK say they're waking up to this. Slashes, tears, and sometimes missing loads. And hauliers are frustrated.
You can see the amount of knives that have gone into this vehicle. This vehicle's already had 2 attempts of theft.
Yeah. So what would a tear like this cost you guys to repair?
A tear like this would normally cost £100. But if you're carrying food or a similar product, once that tear happens, the goods will be rejected when you get to the other end.
Drivers say the thefts are taking a toll. Joe Alves's lorry was slashed even though he had left his doors open to show he wasn't carrying cargo.
I don't get a full night's sleep because I'll always wake up during the night, slide the curtains, just have a little check to see if there's anybody about. I can be doing that 2-3 times a night.
The National Vehicle Crime Intelligence Service, or NaVCIS, is a police unit helping forces fight vehicle crime and is funded by the logistics industry. This NaVCIS intelligence officer polices lorry crime. Due to his work undercover, he wants to remain anonymous.
The organised crime groups that are committing these thefts, they understand CCTV surveillance, they understand how the police work. They've got underground networks of handlers that will handle vast quantity of cargo for serious sums of money.
He says they target popular consumer goods, easy to divide.
Alcohol, tobacco, electrical goods, clothing and fashion goods.
Where does the stolen goods end up?
It all re-enters the supply chain in lots of small quantities. Online selling platforms, wholesalers, backstreet cash and carries, car boot sales, Sunday markets.
Whilst it's not known if these cigarettes were stolen, it's not difficult to find lots of tobacco for sale on Facebook Marketplace, which is against their site rules. And we've approached Facebook for comment. And criminals are taking increasingly reckless risks to get this cargo. This is rare footage of a rollover theft, captured in 2012 in Romania by police. This high-speed method is still very unusual, but NaVCIS says it's on the rise in the UK. There's been 9 recorded rollover thefts so far this year, up from 7 in 2023.
Whilst the lorry's moving at 56 mile an hour, the driver will be unaware that a vehicle has crept up behind the trailer. Someone will climb out of the sunroof of the car that's directly behind, bounce down onto the bonnet, angle grind, undo the back doors of the trailer and jump in on the move to steal cargo.
It's really dangerous stuff, isn't it?
Our concern is that it's got the potential for death and serious injury.
So how can the gangs be stopped?
The biggest problem we have is there is simply not enough places for secure parking.
Improving secure truck parking standards.
To make us more secure, we need more secure parking.
This is an example of really secure parking. With walls, CCTV and on-site security, Ashford International Truck Stop in Kent is one of the most secure sites in the UK. It's been accredited by the British Parking Association, who hope their scheme, launched in 2022, will drive up security standards at truck stops.
It's really interesting that we have only been able to get just 10 sites in the whole of the UK across the line on this scheme. And that's really testimony to the fact that the standards of truck stops is just simply so poor. What's also interesting is that the 10 sites that we have accredited have 0 to little crime.
Some drivers have told us that they don't feel police react well enough to this crime or take their concerns seriously. What would you say to those drivers?
I don't always get an easy ride, particularly from drivers and haulage companies. But last year we was either notified or asked for assistance with 325 arrests for UK cargo crime. We supported 48 policing operations, so there is an awful lot of good work going on nationally to combat this type of offending.
And despite efforts being made to stop thefts like this, drivers say they remain fearful. Clodagh Stenson, BBC South Today.
We think that perfectly sums up the current picture in relation to UK cargo theft and lorry crime. One of the challenges for police and law enforcement I wasn't expecting when I started doing this role was around recoveries of stolen cargo. Previously I'd been doing stolen cars and caravans and plant machinery. I quickly found that cargo theft's different, and it's difficult because if you don't get to the goods in those golden hours after they're stolen, all the goods re-enter the supply chain in loads of small quantities here, there and everywhere. So they all get slaughtered up and they appear in lots of different places all at the same time. So we're seeing goods being sold through online selling platforms, eBay, Gumtree, Amazon, Facebook, buy, sell or swap. There's a run at present of high-value fashion goods being sold through Vinted that we're seeing. And what I'm saying when I'm speaking to the insurers in London, when I'm speaking to the police bosses, is that good, well-meaning members of the public are all unwittingly buying stolen goods without having any idea where those goods have come from. And as I said, they're doing it through those online platforms. Car boot sales, market stalls. There's been 2 high-profile incidents in the last couple of years that I'm aware of where stolen cargo has ended up on national supermarket retailer shelves post-theft. The last one was £250,000 worth of barbecue accessories that was stolen from a truck in Stafford, and they appeared a few months later on a particular national retailer's shelves. So you could see some of the challenges there. Just before I finished, it mentioned on the VT in relation to secure truck parking standards. Our position is quite clear that the UK, in order to have any significant reduction in relation to these offences needs to adopt a secure truck parking standard that's robust enough to defeat serious and organised criminality. We've been working with the British Parking Association in relation to park marked freight and the Department for Transport in relation to secure truck parking. And yeah, I'll hand you back over to Jonathan.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. I don't know whether this is on. He's not going anywhere yet, because if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions, but I'm just going to ask Rhys to come up. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, Rhys.
Hi there, I'm Rhys. I run a small transport company. We have 19 vehicles. Where I have a unique advantage when it comes to talking about freight crime is we don't have any direct customers. Now, if you imagine some of the large companies that we all know and love going onto national television and saying, oh yeah, we have our goods stolen on a regular basis, it's not going to do anybody any good. Where I'm fortunate is I can actually stand up and say that this is a massive problem. It massively is underreported. And for me, and one thing I would hope we can take away, is Mike can only do his job if people actually report freight crime. It's a crime to have your curtains slashed, and I think it's very important that people actually report any attempted thefts as a crime back to the police.
Just talk through the process of reporting, because it is messy and it is a bit long-winded.
Absolutely. You have to apply online, and you have to state when the goods were, when an attempt was taken. Now, actually, in terms of freight crime, we do not have too many thefts from our vehicles. It's the attempted thefts which are the problems. You saw there one of my vehicles, and it might have 9, 10 slashes in. Now, no goods have actually been taken, but the difficulty that we have is we need to report those to make sure that that one vehicle that has been targeted, they might do 12 vehicles in a night, but only one vehicle will actually be targeted.
And so you go through this process every time, even for a slashed curtain?
Absolutely, absolutely, because the more data that they have, the more Mike and his team can actually report on it and make it work.
So,
what that allows us to do, Jonathan, is it allows us to divert resources to that area. So if we would urge, obviously, if drivers have had their curtains slashed, if the driver doesn't report it, we understand that there's obviously time constraints and deliveries to make. But what's not to say that the night after that another driver parks up there and has the same fate? So if we know about it, then at least obviously we can act accordingly.
something I was interested in on your video, actually. One of the drivers on the video was saying specifically that he has very disturbed sleep every night. Now, just going back to my original presentation, drivers who've had significantly disturbed sleep are nothing like as attentive as drivers. It's quite a steep curve downwards about driving skills when you're very tired. So in reality, providing and looking for safe parking was one of the issues raised. What's happening there? What are you aware of?
Well, thankfully, with the help of the Road Haulage Association, there's a lot going on in the background where we are now getting a voice within the government. And they have now allowed for £45 million for people who wish to build secure parking. So there is work going on. This afternoon, I'm delighted to say that there is the government are trying to push through with a freight crime code. And with a bit of luck, if this can go through, it will make it much easier for reporting. It'll make it much easier for us to actually identify the problem moving forward.
Just explain what that means. Why do we need a freight crime code, if I could only say it?
At present, if the government at the end of the year want to find out how many people's been victim of a violent offence, the government can put one code into the national computer. It will tell them. They want to find out how many people's had their houses burgled, they'll put one code into the national computer. It will tell them. With freight crime, we've had to be reliant on industry data and insurance data. And we're not sure that's a full picture. So what Rhys is saying is this afternoon at 2:30, I'm told, in the House of Commons, there's going to be talk about putting forward a bill in relation to putting together that Home Office crime classification code for freight crime.
So what happens with freight crime at the moment? How's that categorised?
It can be categorised as all manner of things. So one of the hypotheses that we know is that the villains that are committing offences know that it's low risk and high reward. So they know that the crime classification, it falls under theft from a motor vehicle. And it's just the same as having your handbag stolen out your boot, your sunglasses stolen from your car. It may be aggravated because of the value involved, but at the end of the day, it's a theft from a motor vehicle. What I say is, when I joined the police 20 odd years ago, people were still holding banks and building societies up. Your cute, switched on criminals are constantly evolving, and freight crime or cargo theft seen as one of those low risk, high reward crime types.
Sorry, Rhys, one of the comments you made to me earlier was that planning permission's also changing for safe parking areas for haulage. Is that what's happened there?
Absolutely. The government have just put through that any new housing development projects now have to allow or understand about the impact of HGV parking. So we are, if I may say, with help from the RHA, we are actually getting the voice and the message across. But I must urge people to continue to report it and continue to work hard to make sure that this isn't taken off the radar, and that we do work as hard as we can as a unit to make sure that this is given top priority. Because when you have drivers that are having interrupted sleep and people leaving the industry, these are all factors that are affecting us and our ability to deliver into the UK markets.
And of course, a large chunk of the workforce doesn't make itself available to drive vehicles because of the safety issues.
Just in relation to that as well, just to follow on, the work that the Road Haulage Association are doing in relation to, one, a crime classification code, but two, that would obviously lead to stricter sentencing guidelines to make cargo theft an aggravated crime type. So it would be obviously seen as a more stricter or harsher penalty. And obviously that's something that we really, really welcome.
Just looking around the group here, how many of you have had at least an attempted theft of cargo from your vehicles? Yeah, almost everybody at some point or another. And so it just shows it's endemic, isn't it? And you're doing your best to try and solve that. And what you're saying is this crime number will give you more focus, which puts more resource. So hopefully more of you doing your role and covering more of the country, as well as funding safer parking and a lot better parking for many drivers.
Exactly that. With the crime classification code, the three things that the Road Haulage Association are pushing for is the crime classification code. That would allow us to direct more resources to those, we don't call them hotspot areas, but vulnerable locations from cargo crime. I said earlier that 367 arrests, I think, last year. There's an awful lot of people being arrested for this crime type, but clear-up rates are pretty low, so prosecution rates are low. So we're working with OPAL, who are the National Serious and Acquisitive Crime Intelligence Unit, in relation to looking at how we tackle this problem. There's not one silver bullet that's just going to fix it overnight. It's a range of solutions: secure parking, police resourcing, crime classification, and obviously stricter sentencing guidelines.
Excellent. Okay, anybody got any questions?
The question is there any correlation between the numbers of abandoned trailers in laybys and cargo theft? There's a number of different things there. Yes, in some cases, but not in all cases. So we recover empty stolen trailers that have had loads stolen from different locations across the Midlands, across the Northwest. So yes, however, there's also another arm to that. We've seen a lot of abandoned trailers being left with waste in them, so asbestos, car tyres, and we've been working with the Environment Agency around those trailers that are being abandoned because, again, criminals, to get rid of waste such as asbestos or tyres, will get a very old trailer that's out of use and just fill it up with household waste and abandon it. So yes, in some cases.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for spending the time and talking to us about it. Thank you very much.